Hey everybody, I think this is going to be a short video, and it's probably a little out there for some people that are just getting going with the Bible or even just getting going with Bible prophecy. This is going to be a little out there, but I just wanted to bring this forward. So in Revelation 13, starting in 13, we're going to start reading about the abomination of desolation. And the image of the beast in particular. And so where we are is in the midpoint of the tribulation period. The Antichrist just arrives into the temple and is setting himself up to be God from the temple. So we're kind of at a very crucial point in the last 7 years of tribulation. And let's just kind of read through these passages here. And he doeth great wonders, so that he make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceive them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. And so I guess this first little part here was talking about the false prophet, um, and he's doing it in the sight of the beast, who is the Antichrist, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image of the beast, okay, an image of the Antichrist, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And they had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many that would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Okay. Um, and he caused all, both small, great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive the mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, so that no man may buy or sell save he that have the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it's the number of a man, as number is 666. Um, so there's a couple of things I want to pull out of this, and then we're going to go take a look at some announcements that came out in the press today. Um, we see an image of the Antichrist being set up, and it's probably going to be set up in the temple. Um, and if you don't worship the image of the beast, you're going to be killed. And then the very next thing we see is the mark of the beast that once that everybody has to take, and if you don't take it, you won't be able to buy or sell or do transactions. And um, just so happens I had a technical career. Most of it, 20 years or so, was in retail, and I'm very familiar with data mining that's done in retail. So, you collect all the information about what people are buying, and you can do some very interesting things. You come up with classes of consumers, people that are thrifty, people that just want to buy the latest thing, um, people that will haggle or shop. You can get all sorts of characteristics by looking at trends in purchasing. Um, and so having a profile of customers and then having what they purchase is really interesting. The other part of this is you get patterns of behavior. And so I'll just give you an example. I think it's called affinity analysis. But um, let's say you have a grocery store and you collect all the sales transactions. Well, you're going to be able to see sooner or later some patterns evolving, like 60% of the time customers buy cookies, they also buy milk. Um, and then you might see things that are called reverse affinities, where things don't necessarily go together. So if you bought, I don't know, make something up, if you bought pickled herring, you're never going to buy milk. Okay, and that's a reverse affinity, meaning they don't go together. And so what you get is you get patterns of behavior that are established. And why would a retailer want to know that? Well, that starts them to do things like they move the milk closer to the cookies so they can increase sales. Or that if they think their store tends to gather more, let's say, high-tech people or whatever, they'll start making bigger displays out of the latest gadgets. And if they do a better job at that, they might be able to bring the price up a little bit and make more profit. And so that's where these computers can study patterns of behavior. And in a retail sense, like what we're seeing here in this passage, if you're collecting everything that's people are doing in terms of buying and selling, you get this really incredible database of patterns of behavior, and you can infer a whole bunch of things about the person by seeing this. And so um, that's always been in the back of my brain as one of the things going on here. Now, the curious thing in this passage is we see the image of the beast um, that should both speak and cause as many as that would not worship the image to be killed. And so this thing has language possibilities, and of course it's a worldwide system, so it's got to be multilingual, and it also somehow can determine whether you're worshiping it or not. And so is that image processing, is that predictive programming in terms of your behavior, and if you're not falling in line with the one world government, does that determine you're on the hit list? So you can, if you know technology, you can infer some things about these passages, and that's why I'm bringing that out. And so just today now I started reading a couple of articles, and this is the source of where the articles were coming from. So let's take a look at Scientific American has this article out, and the point is that Google, collaboration between Google and NASA, and what they're going to do is they're going to install this D-Wave 2, a computer that is a quantum computer, and it's got just unbelievable. It's a 512 qubit processor, which thousands of times faster than conventional computers for a quantum process. And this 512 qubit processor is, it's unimaginably fast. And so many people said it wasn't even possible to create a quantum computer, and now we've got this 512 qubit processor that Google is investing in. And what could be done with this? Well, hang on a second, we'll take a look. Okay, now I went from Scientific American, I just flipped over, and I went to Infowars.com, where they're referencing the same Scientific American article, but it seems to have a little bit more information on it. And so let's just take a look here. Here they're referencing the Scientific American article. And they talk about here, thanks to the nature of qubits, it's actually 2 to the power of 384 times more powerful than the first generation of this same quantum computer. So you can just, that's a phenomenal number when it comes to increase in power. And here's the teaching machines how to learn and think for themselves. And so we're talking about probable uses here, according to NASA and Google, in the realm of machine learning, and how computers will think for themselves, not just speech recognition and vision recognition, and teaching. They're talking about these robotic armed in-field robots, but I think if you look at machine learning and you look at speech recognition and you look at these self-teaching algorithms, the thing is getting frightening. And let's just take a look at what's the basis of machine learning from a framework standpoint. And I found kind of, it's a fairly old article, but it's got a nice little graphic. I think this is from 1996. But basically, if you have data and you can extract some of that, meaning the target data, so maybe I'm going to look at a class of data, say retail sales, and then you might structure that data so it can be analyzed. and then you have what's called transform data that then you sick the computer on, and it discovers patterns. And once you know the patterns, like customers buying milk 60% or cookies 60% of the time will buy milk, you get knowledge that you can go act on. And so this is the basic progression. Now, a couple of important things knowing a little bit about this is, and it's called, data mining. Um, it's also, there's sort of a parallel thought here that's called pattern recognition, which is coming up this end of the scale. But the key thing is you need large data sets of behavioral data, and then you get the computer involved somewhere in this line to come up with the patterns that leads to the knowledge. Now, in the old days of data mining, humans would have to guess at what patterns might exist and put hypotheses into the computer to say, do these patterns exist? So from a human behavior standpoint, you might say, well, I think there's probably an association between cookies being purchased and milk. Let's go see. And then if the pattern is established based on looking at the data, then you have the knowledge. Now, if you have very, very fast computers, you can stand back and say, go tell me what patterns exist. And if you have a large enough data population here, the computer can race through and calculate through statistics and tell you what patterns exist. And so you can get really goofy results that were unexpected, meaning, people, and I'll go back to the store retail example, people that bought bread also for whatever reason, 40% of the time bought ice cream. Now, you wouldn't necessarily put the two together, but there was something about the behavior of wanting to go buy bread that was associated with ice cream, and the person in retail wouldn't have ever guessed it, and yet it existed in the patterns. And so what I'm moving toward is this technology would be key to what we were reading in Revelation 13, meaning both you'd have to be able to process speech and do recognition of all sorts of speech, but then you would take then, for instance, purchase data is what's being referred to here, and you could start classifying people in terms of their behavior and then being predictive about what's the next behavior to come. And just as an example of that, let's take a quick flip over. This is a company that's doing artificial intelligence, and it's software. I just went to their main web page, and they're talking about announced the birth of the first artificial brain on the internet called Nathan. You can come to this AI One site and read it for yourself. So Nathan makes it easy to build machine learning applications to understand contextual meaning of any data. See, here we're finding the patterns in unclassified data sets. Unlike other machine learning tools, Nathan works in any language. Hey, what do we read in Revelation 13? With any data and learns quickly without human supervision. Okay, and so here they're saying the focus of this system is on text analytics and finding keywords, associations, combining to form contextual understanding. Okay, that's exactly what we're talking about with this mark, or with this image of the beast, and the activity of the image of the beast. And so I'm just laying out a hypothesis, and people say, well, it's kind of a goofy thing there in Revelation 13. You've got basically a statue or an image of some sort of the Antichrist, and that it both speak and cause as many that would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Well, if it's a global system, it can speak, it solves all the language barriers, and if you're not worshiping it, you're going to be killed. And then the very next thing, which is always curious to me, coming from the background I've got, is very next thing is talking about is the mark of the beast and all the buying and selling information. So to me, there's something there. Now, people that have been studying what Motorola um, has been doing, and they just got purchased by Google, I believe, as well. At least a portion of Motorola did, and they're coming up with um, these tattoos um, that are implanted. Let me think. No, they're coming up with a pill that you swallow. I think that allows you to log on without your password. Anyways, they're coming up with these identification systems that are um, much like Mark of the Beast kind of technology and allows you to log in. And this is Google, and Google's also buying this pattern recognition stuff. And everybody knows that Google is this vast store of all the search data of all the web pages. And so when you talk about this model of needing base data to derive patterns from, who's got the most base data? It's going to be Google. And so it's very frightening, these things that are coming together here, if you understand the nature of pattern recognition, artificial intelligence, and computing. You can very clearly see where this is going. And as today's June 20th, we also see in the news today, that I guess it was the FBI admitted that they have been flying drones over the U.S., even though they had been denying it for over a year. Well, yes, we are doing it, and there really appears to be no guidelines in terms of privacy for having done it. And they've been basically lying up until this point, saying that it wasn't happening. So the reason why I bring that up is generally when you see an announcement now, you can assume that this has already taken place, and it's just being announced now. And earlier in the release of these articles here, I'm not sure if it was in this one at InfoWars or in the Scientific American one, but this came out of the guy that started this D-Wave, came out of government and DARPA research, where he was building these machines. And so the government has had this for a while, NASA's involved, and so this isn't a surprise. If you ask me, what's going on is they're announcing what already is up and running. That would be my assumption. And the government's involved, and likely Google is involved. And if you talk about, they're going to also collect now all the buy and sell data with the mark of the beast. And the mark of the beast is identity information, so that every person can be tracked, which is one of the key things of tying behavioral data back to an individual, is you have to know who was generating the behavior. You solve that with the mark of the beast. I think you get a very perfect picture of this one world government and the way the control system is going to work. And we saw in the Scientific American article that this technology is also useful for image recognition. And the other big spook thing that's going on is where all these uh, security cameras or cameras are being installed everywhere that can do facial recognition and pattern recognition. So we've got just a tremendous amount of very spooky things from a technology standpoint coming together with artificial intelligence, the process that's, a computer that's able to process, and the base data coming from Google. And then when we read the passage here in terms of what the image of the beast is going to be doing, I think we can see at least it's plausible. How do you get the type of behavior that's described about the image of the beast actually occurring with today's technology? I'll posit that this is probably already up and running, and the mark of the beast just will be tying back all that behavioral data to specific individuals once you receive the mark. That's my assertion, is that that's the final, if you want to say, nail in the coffin for the population globally to be controlled. You tie it to an individual, and you have all the pattern data that you would ever need, and you can predict who's going to worship the beast or not based on behavior. That would be one. Two, there's no language barrier, because this type of technology can be used across textual analysis. We saw in this AI1 to cross languages and natural language processing is part of this. And so you can just see how these pieces are coming together. And, it's just amazing because, Revelation, Book of Revelation was written probably in 95 or 96 AD. And you get these strange things. And I'm not saying there isn't anything supernatural going on here because um, the the beast breathes on this thing, I think, and gives it this power. I'm not saying there isn't anything not supernatural, but you can also see that here he had power to give life unto the image. So I don't know what that means, but you can see technology-wise how this could be installed and up and running even today. So I hope that was insightful. Shorter video today, but appreciate any comments you have down below, and I guess we'll talk to you later.